Welcome in. It is the Three Guys Talking Ball podcast. We have reached the NFL Divisional Round Preview Championship Round Preview edition here on the Three Guys Talking Ball podcast. We got some other stuff to talk about as well. Big news was that Jim Harbaugh is leaving Michigan to become the head coach of the LA Chargers, as it was reported by Adam Schefter and everybody else in the media. I just got back from Arizona. I got to witness an incredible game between the Suns and Bulls, which we'll talk about here in a little bit. And then we'll get into meat and potatoes. Grant will give us an update on his on where he is leaning for the February 7th edition of his selection of who is going to be his new college team, or is he going to be staying with the Iowa Hawkeyes? We are going to find out. But Grant, you're never going to guess what I got in the mail today.
I think I have an idea.
Do you?
I think I do. Dylan, I wanted.
You know what I got?
I have a hunch, but please show us.
These nuts.
That bastard got me.
Gotcha. I did, but I also got something. You leave your house, or you don't. You leave the state
get the mail
for 5 days. You got a whole. Yeah, you got a whole bunch of stuff that actually came in. But here, just give me a second.
Ooh, it's a reveal.
All right, now we can do the podcast.
He's without a doubt a champion, folks. Don't forget it.
I am without a doubt a champion. I even still have the sticker on. I figured, I finally got to wear it for a podcast. I got to make sure I do it right and and make sure I'm wearing it, fresh. I still got to keep the sticker on. I don't know. Do I do the backwards hat? Like they all do on stage. I'm still in my 20s, so I think I'm still allowed to be a backwards hat guy. I'm not the quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
I'm technically at my regular job. I'm technically not the head guy. I'm the number 2, so I don't think I fully have to wear.
No,
be like the straight laced.
Without a doubt,
I have upgraded to where I actually like wear a polo and tuck my shirt in every day. But I don't think I fully have to be a straight arrow.
Dude,
I can still wear a backwards hat.
You can. I'm not gonna lie. Becoming an adult and having to wear your polo tucked in every day, that's a big deal. That's a big step. But you're still in your 20s. You're still in celebration mode. You're not in charge. It's not like you have to be the leader of an organization. Pepsi's not going anywhere. So you can still be the young and wild backwards hat guy. And
exactly, it shows my fun side.
Yeah, no one is asking you to be the face of anything.
No. No, I don't have much of a face. I don't have much of a face to be the face of anything. We are known face for radio guys.
Maybe a face for radio in a podcast that people only listen to on Apple Podcasts and there's no video to.
Well, we do have video, and that's crazy that most of our views do come from YouTube. So apparently we must be doing something right. I don't know. But
it must be some secret admirers out there who, for some reason, think we're good-looking guys and or cute. I don't know.
Yeah, don't be shy, ladies. Don't be shy.
I'm not sure.
So, but yeah, like I said, I just got back from Arizona. I flew back this afternoon, and then now it's been just trying to get my life together. You would think that I had it all planned out, that I was going to be taking notes during these games, so I had stuff to go off of, and it was a little bit fresher in my mind. But me being me and being on a golf course for 3 of the 4 days, we got rained out our last day. weren't able to golf because it was like cold in Arizona. It was like 59. It was like 60s most. And then the last day it rained. They said it's the most rain they've gotten in quite some time. But yeah. Played the Grand Canyon University golf course, and the greens kicked my ass, to put it lightly. On the second hole, it was a par 3. Hit a beautiful shot off the tee, which I never hit good shots off a par 3. Usually just trying to get all nervous and end up hitting the ball like into the water or chunking it about 10 feet in front of me. Beautiful shot. I probably had about an 8-foot putt for birdie.
Oh.
And yeah. And, going up there and normal greens, I don't know if I make it or not, but like normal greens, I would at least par it.
This is a Division 1 golf green.
Yeah. And it rolls right by. And it didn't just roll by like a couple of feet where I can tap it in. It was still one of those where I actually had to putt it. It probably went about 7 feet past. And of course, I missed that one. And I have to get a 3-putt bogey.
Yeah.
But I will say, the last hole, I did hit. I did get to a save par. I hit about a 15-foot putt that as soon as I hit it, I knew I made it, and I just walked it in. So that was a cool feeling. Good way to end the round.
So also one of those, not only a good way to end the round, a good way to say, I'm going to go back to Arizona again next year and play.
Yeah, well, I'm always going to because, especially if we have the weather that we had before we left, which it doesn't. I haven't even talked about the plane issues we have. We had to probably sit on the runway in Bismarck for about an hour because the de-icer, the lift on the de-icer, like froze, and the other one that they just keep outside for whatever reason, and that takes time to warm up, and it's 1 degree out, so it takes a little bit longer. So we were stuck on a runway, and Allegiant planes, they cram, they make it very, very tight, so you're very uncomfortable. There's not much leg room. And we, as a podcast, are very anti standing up as soon as the plane lands.
100%.
However, there are certain exceptions to the rule. I was willing to make an exception and not judge people who stood up as soon as the plane landed. But because that was a long time. That was probably about a 4 hour just sitting there. I didn't get to stand up. I didn't stand up at all during the flight. I went to the bathroom after they told us we were going to be on the runway for an hour.
Mm-hmm.
And then after that, I sat in the seat and I actually got a good nap in once we got in the air. They said it was like about an hour and 45 minutes before we land. And then I woke up. Next time I woke up, they said they were beginning their descent into Mesa, and we'll be there. And then got there at about 2 and went to bed. And
was
then
in-flight entertainment available, aka TV in front of you?
Well, I did bring my iPad.
Okay.
So I watched an episode of Seinfeld.
Nice.
And that was about all I could get through, is because I was already falling asleep during it. So I just said, whatever. I'm just gonna go to sleep. And then I had on the flight back, I downloaded 3 episodes of Seinfeld, and then a stand-up by Stavros Halkias. I don't know if you know who he is. Fat Greek dude, huge Ravens fan. But
I feel like there's a lot of Greeks. I feel like there's a lot of Greeks in Baltimore. Maybe I'm just judging off of season 2 of The Wire, where they had to do a lot with people from Greece bringing in drugs to Baltimore. But hey, maybe I'm right. Maybe I'm wrong. I'm not sure.
Could be. I'm not exactly sure on that one, but but yeah, and then golfed. Hit some pretty typical rounds for me. Hit some good, hit some bad. Said some bad words. Had some beverages. Had fun. Then got to go watch Suns Bulls, which I don't know, Grant, if you remember, but the last time I went to an NBA game, the only NBA game I've ever went to.
I'm aware.
It was Suns T-Wolves, and both teams were very bad.
Weren't they both like 15 and 42 or something like that at the time?
Something, yeah. Not they weren't very good.
Correct.
I believe Devin Booker was in his 2nd or 3rd year, and the most excitement of the game, well, it was so exciting my dad fell asleep.
Yep.
And the amount we paid for the tickets for the for this game, for that game is about the same, and we were not in the same seat. It was about $43, and yeah, the most excitement of that game was when Gorgie Dang and Devin Booker got into a fight, and Devin Booker said to meet him in the tunnel.
Yes.
And you saw Devin Booker sprinting back and him having to be restrained by the Suns security team. So,
well, if I'm not mistaken, is that a little Kentucky on Louisville violence? With them two players?
Yeah, that would make sense. That would add up.
It kind of makes sense in a way, right?
It does. It does now. It all makes sense now. But this game, it was Suns versus Bulls, and the Bulls were basically in the lead for 2.5, basically 2 3/4 of the game.
Mm-hmm.
And I think they were up by like 23 at one point. And then all of a sudden, towards the end of the third quarter, they started making a comeback. It was sparked by Drew Eubanks, who had a great game. He had 10 points, 8 rebounds, and had a scuffle with, get this, I don't know if you knew this, Grant, but Andre Drummond is still in the league and is playing for the Bulls.
I did not know that.
I did not either. Jamie, the guy I was with, we looked at each other and was like, did you know that Andre Drummond was still in the league? I did not, but yeah, they got into a scuffle, sparked a comeback. Kevin Durant drops 43, hits the game winner with 1.6 seconds left, and it was like, okay, I'm back in on the NBA. I want to go to another NBA game, especially when it was two good teams. It was I was looking earlier in the season the Suns won a 1-point game in overtime, and this game was a 2-point win, and the crowd was into it. It was alive. It was a lot different than the first one we went to. So it was definitely fun.
Well, because earlier this year I went to the Wolves Sacramento game at Target Center on Black Friday, and it was when it was the in-season tournament. So the Wolves had the horrible courts and the different jerseys.
Yeah.
And just the takeaway from that game was these NBA players are just such special athletes. Like what they do with how big they are, it doesn't make any sense. They look like 6'8" ballerinas. And in that game, Sacramento shot 68% from 3 in the first half. Like they couldn't miss. It was incredible. And the Wolves ended up losing by about 20 that night, but one of their rare home losses this year until the other night when they lost when Cat put up 62. But
that was the same night. And then Embiid put up 70, Durant 43.
Yep. But yeah, it was just incredible to see these guys who are all 6'6" on average and bigger move the way they do. It was truly amazing. The one thing I complain about the NBA is this: they play music in the middle of the play. I'm not watching a game at LA Fitness or the YMCA. Take the music off. We're professionals here. That's not for me. So if there's one thing, NBA arenas, stop playing music in the middle of play.
Oh, okay, Boomer. No, I had my old man be an adult moment. Grant had his moment of whining about them playing basketball or playing music during the game. But
yes.
But as I said earlier, that Jim Harbaugh has left Michigan to be the head coach of the LA Chargers. I wasn't shocked. I think Jim Harbaugh is just one of the first dominoes of really good college coaches that will be leaving to go be a broadcaster or coach in the NFL, because that is kind of feels like that is the way college football is shifting, where you have to deal with NIL, you have to recruit the players on your own team, you have to go in the transfer portal. It's all those headaches that are still there in the NFL, but you don't have to. It is not the 365-day-a-year job that college football has become. I'm happy for Jim and his family. He left Michigan in a much better place than when he found it, to going from 5-7, a coach who never wore his headset.
Pet peeve.
It was
another pet peeve of mine.
And yeah, and just the being able to build it up, winning 10 games his first year. And there were some low points. Losing to Ohio State 5 years in a row was not fun, but these last 3 have made up for it. Very happy. Which we'll talk more because we finally have gotten to see some movement on the NFL coaching front here. The Titans have a head coach. The Chargers now have a head coach. I would expect a few more to be named before we record coming up here. So we will talk more and grade every coaching hire to that point on next week's episode. But I guess as far for me, from a Michigan standpoint, Sherrone Moore is the favorite. He is the man for the job, winning 3 games, beating Ohio State, beating Penn State on the road, beating Maryland on the road. The incredible job he did that really brought that team together and keeping everybody focused on the main goal, and coaching, showing how big his nuts are by just the way that he coached that Ohio State game, being aggressive, going for it, and going for it on 4th down, and some of the play calls he did going for it on 4th down, the toss pass, and being able to manage that game, coaching the offensive line and calling plays, which is the thing that leads me into my next point here is I think that is going to be huge for Sherrone, is to go out and get a offensive coordinator and offensive line coach that he trusts, because I think you can do it in a 3-game stretch. And although Harbaugh was suspended, he was still a big part of the game plan, and Harbaugh was still doing a lot of that, where Sherrone was still able to focus on his play calling and offensive line coaching duties, where it's going to be tough, which is still tough for an offensive line coach to call plays, and then you're running meetings. But his on-field was excellent. So getting that is going to be priority number 1. He's probably going to have to hire a defensive coordinator. I think Jesse Minter is going to be going to LA with Harbaugh. I wouldn't be curious to see what Ben Herbert does. Ben Herbert is paid, I saw, over $1 million at the University of Michigan. I don't know many strength coaches, from according to Nick Baumgartner, that are getting paid that much, because they are professionals and most of them already have a strength and conditioning coach. So that's positive spin zone for that. We'll see if he is able to stay. I would be more than happy. A big reason that Harbaugh and a lot of the people at Michigan have pointed to is the reason for the rejuvenation and the improvement that they've shown from the 2020 season to where they're the 2024 season. So, and I think it's just a very underrated aspect of college football is how important that college strength program is. I mean, you can just go and look at Grant's former team, the Iowa Hawkeyes. When Chris Doyle left under some controversy, Iowa has not been the same. So I'm sure there's going to be more. I'm sure by the next time we record, I'm sure Michigan will have an announcement on who is hired. But in the end, I still think Michigan is fine. I think Harbaugh, he has changed the culture at Michigan. He's made it to more of a player-led locker room. And as long as the strongest voices in the locker room are the players, and they're the ones holding the guys accountable, and they have strong leaders on that team, I think Michigan is still going to be at the top of college football.
I'm with you, Dylan. I honestly think Michigan should have a new head coach by tomorrow. I don't think this is one of those where we're going to interview some other people and let this be a true process of hiring a new coach. You have your guy right here. Sherrone, like you said, these last 3 games in the regular season, he proved that he'll be able to keep players from leaving in the transfer portal. He'll be able to keep incoming freshmen assigned on that February 7th signing day. He's proved he's more than capable of holding this job down, and it's time to go. And I think I saw it today. Zach Minter tweeted out right away.
Jesse,
thank you. No, sorry, not Minter. The offensive tackle who broke his leg, Zach. I'm
Oh,
sorry,
Zach Zinter. Yes.
Zinter. Thank you, Zinter. He tweeted something along the lines of it's Sharon's job. It's his time to shine. I mean, if players are tweeting that already, Michigan, just make this simple. Just hire him. Don't go through the process. You have your guy. You have someone who wants to be a Michigan man. Just get started on 2024 right now.
And the crazy part about it is I think there was a rule or something that the job has to be open for 7 days before formally offering somebody. That has to just get thrown out the window. They can make a special exemption because now you got to deal with the 30-day window of transfer portal, all that garbage. You get Sharon in, and you go from there. He has experience. He played at Oklahoma. He's coached at a number of big stops in college football. And this is somewhat very similar to what NDSU is going through right now, Grant. I don't know if you saw, but Tyler Roll is leaving to take the offensive coordinator and associate head coach role at Tennessee State, which I don't know. Do you know who the head coach at Tennessee State is right now?
Is it still Eddie George?
It is Eddie George.
Yeah.
And they will be coming to Fargo, I believe, in week 2 here.
Yes.
And then NDSU goes to Tennessee the next year to play a home and home.
Just a straight up money thing? Or was it
no?
Let's get out of North Dakota and live in Tennessee thing? Live in Nashville? What's up here?
Well, from what the Fargo media was saying is that Roll was very hurt, and rightfully so. It felt like he earned it. You guys were tweeting out that their support for him, similar to what Michigan is doing with Sharon Moore.
Okay.
And I think they said that the biggest detriment to Tyler Roll was that he really doesn't have the experience that Polasek had, where Polasek went to the FBS and coached. He was a special teams coordinator at Northern Iowa, then came back to NDSU to be the offensive coordinator, then went to Iowa to be the O-line coach, then went to Wyoming to be the offensive coordinator. So he has a diversity of experience. Yeah. And so maybe this is just Tyler Roll. Maybe he is going and trying to kind of develop that. And who knows? Going down to Tennessee, going down to SEC country, he does well there. It's another step to where he could, potentially move up to the FBS or take a different position down there. It's a lot about networking and making those connections. I'm outside of when they play NDSU, I'll be rooting for him. I have no reason not to. He's a North Dakota guy. He is, when you think of NDSU football, he's definitely one of the guys that you think of. He bleeds green and gold. So, sucks to see him leave, but happy for the opportunity and wish him well. That's another one that I'm really curious to see what they do with the offensive coordinator position, because I really, off the top of my head, there's really only like one name that would come to mind, and he actually just moved to Iowa State to be the wide receivers coach. I think he's in his first or second year there, and was part of Entz's first staff. So very curious to see where they go. I don't know if there's going to be anybody on staff for NDSU if they promote it within, but that's really all we know at this point.
One of those situations where Polasek might try to call plays himself?
I don't think so. Just because of like the coaching, the pedigree that he is under in the tutelage, because Craig Bohl never called plays. Mm-hmm. Kirk Ferentz was never calling plays, and then when he went back to, I think he wants to be the CEO, oversee it. I'm sure he's going to have plenty of input on it, but I think he's gonna let the offensive coordinator be the offensive coordinator and do his job.
Makes sense.
So, with that, then let's get into the. You want to talk some divisional round games? Let's talk some divisional round games. How's that sound?
I'm ready to go, baby.
All right. Well, we'll just go in order of the games here. We'll go Ravens, Texans, our first game on Saturday. Ravens win 34-10. It was a close game at half, and it was also still a game that it never felt like the Texans were really in it at any point. They had the one punt return. They did not score an offensive touchdown. Too many mistakes by the Texans. I believe they had 11 penalties in the game. 7 of them were five false starts, 2 more pre-snap penalties, 7 total pre-snap penalties I think I saw. And cuz it was like right after they showed the 5, there was 2 like back-to-back plays. And you look at the red zone efficiency. The difference in the game was the Ravens converted their red zone opportunities into touchdowns, and 37 and a half minutes of time of possession, which I guess is a little bit of foreshadowing here for another divisional round game we'll talk about here as to conclude divisional round weekend. But the other part is that Ravens defense has been salty like they've been all year, limiting a team that put up 31 points last week against a really good Browns defense, limiting him to 3 points. Texans were not able. I think they ran the ball for 38 yards a game, unable to open up play action. The offense just could never get anything going. And whenever it felt like they finally had some momentum going, they would they would have one of those pre-snap penalties that would set them behind the chains, and they just aren't quite good enough to overcome that yet. I think with another year, couple years down the road, they'll be able to overcome that. But first year coach, first year quarterback, a young team still, just in general, it's tough for those mistakes to overcome. But we're going to see a lot next year if they, how much they take from this game and use it to improve and realize that we can't be having this. We can't beat ourselves.
But Dylan, real quick, you mentioned how they put up 31 against the Browns. I heard a stat today when I was watching the Pat McAfee show that I couldn't believe. The Cleveland Browns this year had the number 1 defense in the NFL when they were at home. When they played on the road this year, they had the 32nd best defense in the NFL.
Oh, cow.
Yes.
That is nuts.
I mean, that blew my mind. That blew Pat McAfee's mind. J.J. Watt couldn't speak on it because he was so perplexed. My dad was confused as all hell. He goes, hold on. You're telling me at Cleveland they had the 31st, they had the number 1 defense when they were at home, but when they were on the road, they were the 32nd best defense in the NFL this year, based on their, 8 road games and their 9 home games. I said, that is correct. So that's just a Fun Fact Friday, recorded on a Wednesday, coming to you on a Thursday there, folks. But yeah, that just a crazy stat that I had to say. And to your point, it showed. Look at last week. Houston was at home, 31 points. They looked unstoppable against the 32nd best road defense in the NFL. And this year, this past week, they played Baltimore, and Baltimore showed why they're the best defense in the NFL. But yeah, you're just absolutely right, Dylan. This whole game, even though it was only 17-10 at halftime, you just felt like eventually Baltimore was just going to take the will to live away from Houston, and they were just going to kind of just like this Michigan team last year, just kind of choke you out. They're just that boa constrictor where eventually the floodgates are going to break open, and they're going to be up by 2 possessions, 3 possessions, and that's what it was. And Baltimore, maybe in the first half they had a little rust they needed to shake off. Lamar hadn't played in 3 weeks. I think the last time he played was on New Year's Eve, because they clinched. Yeah. And even in that game, he was pulled in the middle of the third quarter because they put up 40-some points against the Dolphins. So they kind of had to get back into a groove of things, and they were rolling. And another aspect of this game, let's give M&T Bank and those Baltimore fans some credit. They were into it. That was a hostile
5 false
crowd.
Starts. That's part of
Five false starts.
That's part of it.
No one talks about going into Pittsburgh and having a home field advantage. In the AFC North, you're like, oh, we got to go to Pittsburgh. And formerly Heinz Field, the dog pound in Cleveland, they're going to get after it. Nobody's scared to go to Cincinnati because those fans aren't NFL fans. They just enjoy football. But no one talks about Baltimore being, a tough place to play because it seems like over the years, Baltimore, they only host one playoff game a year. They could never get over the edge for Pittsburgh. They'd have to go on the road, or they were the 2 seed, and then they play a home game against a lowly Texans team 12 plus years ago, and they're getting ready to play a game in Foxborough. So those fans, I hope they change people's minds across this nation about going to Baltimore and playing a game, because that was awesome.
I believe this is the first championship game played in Baltimore since 1971. I think I read today.
That is correct.
Yeah, that Michigan analogy is correct. And I mean, Lamar, you look at Lamar's stat line, it wasn't going to blow you away. But I mean, he made the plays when he was called upon. He was really good run. He was effective with his legs, and made throws when he had to make throws. He wasn't asked to do a whole lot, and that's John Harbaugh did a good job of just coaching to win the game, and just I think he also said, hey, the defense is playing well. Let's not put ourselves in harm's way and play some risky play. We don't need to do anything stupid, trick play, anything like that. Just let's be conservatively aggressive. And, they had a couple of 4th and 1s that they went for. But when you're running the ball the way they did, they ran for almost 250 yards on the ground. I think that they said we can keep getting yards. We're just leaning on them, and that defense, the Houston defense, was just getting tired.
Hey, John, he said that at halftime of that game when he was talking to Lisa Salters. He goes, hey, we just got to keep playing well on defense. Offense, we're going to continue to make some plays and go out there and compete, and good things will happen. He knew that this game was going the way that he wanted it to. The defense was dominating. The offense was getting plenty of yards on there. Besides, I think they had 1 3-and-out or 2 3-and-outs in the first half. But besides that, the Houston couldn't do much to stop them. Baltimore felt like they were in a groove, and they just kind of wore them out. And in the second half, they took the game over and proved why they're probably the best team in the NFL right now.
Yep. And I don't think we have much left for this game. Do you let's kick it over to you here, and let's talk 49ers Packers.
Oh man, really the first thing I just got to say about this game is it's going to be a long offseason in Green Bay. Because I felt like coming into this game, once again, Matt LaFleur had an awesome game plan. 3 long drives to start the game. I think it was 14 plays, 10 plays, and 11 plays. But what we've harped on all year, Dylan, I've complained about the Chiefs. You've complained with this about Dallas, and come playoff time, how important it is converting red zone drives into touchdowns, not kicking field goals. And then early in the game when LaFleur went for it on that 4th and 1, I remember watching that and I'm thinking, you know what? We're moving the ball well on these guys. My defense is confident. I said to myself, you know what? Kick the field goal. Get up 6 points, because points are going to become so important in this game. And then even, Green Bay won the middle 8. They blocked the field goal at the end of the first half. Were able to go down and score. They kind of had it. I felt like they had the game right where they wanted it to be. Credit to Kyle Shanahan and San Francisco. They just kept fighting. They knew it was going to be a long game. And in the second half, again, they got another stop when they needed to. And unfortunately, it seemed like Green Bay's special teams let them down again, in the second half, where LaFleur goes, whenever my kicker's out on the field, I'm just going to pray and I'm going to hope he's going to make this kick. And, he missed that. And without Debo, when Brock Purdy needed to be the man and lead a drive, he went down there and he did it. And, McCaffrey scored again. And, San Francisco's then able to get the stop on the Jordan Love interception. But this is going to be a hard one for Green Bay fans in Green Bay to swallow, because, people say, oh, yeah, they were the better team. They should have won the game. They played well for 58 minutes. Well, close only counts in horseshoes and hand grenades, not in football. And when Green Bay needed to bow up and make a play, they just either couldn't finish drives or they couldn't stop San Francisco, from scoring. And the Niners just made a couple more plays and or avoided the mistakes that Green Bay made in this game. And also, again, you're looking at a San Francisco team coming off a bye, a little sluggish. Green Bay, they had the hot hand after what they did last week in Dallas. They didn't care that they were coming on a short week, and they were crisp. They were ready to go. And like I said, that Green Bay offensive line is built to pass block, and they kept Jordan Love upright for the most part. They had a great game, and it's just San Francisco just made one to two less mistakes than Green Bay did, and that was the difference in the game.
Yeah, I agreed with you. I thought they should have kicked the field goal there, go up 6, because it just by the way that game was trending, it was points were gonna be needed, and they kick that field goal and make it. They're playing for a tie and they miss it. San Francisco, it's a 2-possession game with 33 seconds left, and this is the first time under in the 7 years that Kyle Shanahan's been the head coach that they have won a game when they're trailing in the fourth quarter,
which is crazy.
And Grant, I think some of it, Jordan Love, he did play a good game, but it felt like he was trying to, I think he was drinking the Kool-Aid about all the comparisons that he was getting from Brett Favre and Aaron Rodgers, where he was throwing those off-platform throws. And it felt like he was trying to throw a lot of those when he didn't need to, where he had a clean pocket and all he had to do was set his feet and throw. But he tried to do the off-platform, funny angle type throw, and he missed a couple of guys. And the other part, too, is on that last drive, where after that Aaron Jones long run, you can run on that San Francisco defense, but you have to be going through them. You can't go around them, because I believe it was after the Aaron Jones long run, they try and end around, they get 1 yard. I think they get like an end around and incomplete, and then like another 1 yard run, and they 49ers stop them and get the ball back. And that was when Green Bay had success running the ball, was when they were running between the tackles. They weren't going to the outside. So, it was a great game plan. And then Matt LaFleur went full back to 2020 NFC Championship Matt LaFleur, and just tensed up. And, I think we've reached the point in the Brock Purdy talk is he is either the MVP of the league or he is ass. And there's no in between. But do I think Brock Purdy should have been in the MVP candidate conversation? No, I think if there's anybody on the Niners, it should have been Christian McCaffrey. But I think there's something that needs to be said about Brock Purdy, about how he didn't play great for most of the game. The ball was slipping out of his hands. It was a wet ball. But when they needed him to make a play and he had to be at his best, he was. On his final drive, he was 6 of 7. He had converted 2 huge down on some tough throws where he was threading the needles, the 10-yard to Ayuk, and then that 17-yard pass to former Chief Chris Conley. So the idea that, Brock Purdy is just a product of talented player. Yes, he is. But there's also a reason why he's in the NFL, is because he can make throws like the ones he did on Saturday night, and it was, and he just, and especially after Debo went out, it felt like Shanahan kind of panicked and basically had to scrap his game plan, because I think that is a very individual oriented game plans that he runs, especially where I think he has certain plays just drawn up just for guys. And when you cut your playbook down 5 to 10 plays, when one of those guys isn't out there.
Well, yeah, I was going to say, I don't know about you, but I felt when Debo was out with that shoulder, I was just like, you know what? This game might be over. It was one of those where you kind of felt like Green Bay was getting comfortable. They were able to move the ball. Debo's out. We know what the Niners are when he's not there. And it was just a classic one of those where the Niners had a little too much rest. The rust was going to come up, and then they weren't going to be able to get those big explosive chunk plays, without Debo on the field. And it's like, I don't know if they can overcome this. But for their sake, they did. And or they just, again, like I said, I think they just made fewer mistakes than Green Bay. It wasn't that the Niners won this game. The Green Bay just made more mistakes. And it, came back to bite them in the ass.
Yeah, it did. And, they just announced that they are getting rid of Joe Barry, so we're going to see what they go from there. But as many question marks as there is going into Green Bay, there's still plenty of reason for optimism in there, which sucks for the rest of the NFC and especially the NFC North.
100%.
And then let's go over to the Sunday games. Lions 31, Buccaneers 23. It was a little bit of a back and forth game, but it never felt like the Bucs were ever able to get control of it. One of the big keys to the game that we talked about on last week's episode for Tampa Bay was getting pressure on Jared Goff, not letting him get comfortable, not letting it become, or trying to make it to become a drop back pass game, which the Lions, one of the best offensive lines in the NFL, didn't let happen. They did a good job of being able to run the ball effectively. I think they ran it for over 100. They ran it for over 100 yards, and the Tampa Bay was never able to get any of those exotic blitzes that Todd Bowles is so known to draw up, that they just couldn't get to him. And the Lions, their final in the second half, they had 5 drives in the second half, excluding the kneel down. They scored 3 touchdowns on them in 3 of their 5 ended with touchdowns, and that ended up being the difference in the game. And they made, again, it was playoff football. Who's going to make the plays when you have to make the plays? And the Lions were the ones that did that.
I think we got to give credit to Aaron Glenn here coming into this game, because Detroit's defense was taking some shots. They were taking some strays from the media, us, just everyone talking. They were just like, this Lions defense is going to let this team down. And, Aaron Glenn, he had enough of that, and he schemed up some pressures this week where he got people running free to Baker Mayfield. And, you can, anytime that you got free rushers coming at your quarterback, there's a good chance you're going to win and the other team's going to make a couple mistakes. First, and then especially in the first half when I think Detroit was up 3-0, or Brian Branch coming off the edge for a first down sack. It's now 2nd and 19. That's a drive killer. Aiden Hutchinson stepping up with 2 more big sacks. Detroit's defense kind of bowing out and making plays when they needed to. And when you do that and then the game gets on the line and Tampa needs a field goal or needs a touchdown to win it, you bring some pressure. Baker's going to try to force it in there to his tight end, and Detroit gets the interception and they seal the game. So, credit to Aaron Glenn for, bringing some pressure and saying, you know what, we can't let Baker get comfortable, because with these skilled players and with maybe how weak our secondary is, if we don't get to Baker, he's going to tear us up.
And I think you said it, Grant, giving Aaron Glenn credit, because we were talking about how he was going to be the reason why the Lions don't go far. But Chris Collinsworth talked about it on the broadcast last week of how, what is something we might not be good at many things, but we're gonna make sure that we shut down the run. And for 2 straight weeks, they have done a good job of shutting down the run. And what do we talk about all the time in December? Or what wins football games in January? Stopping the run and running the football. And there is not a better team right now doing what the Lions are doing right now than running the football and stopping the run. And then, against a guy like Baker, how many tip passes did the Lions defense force? That was another thing that I was looking at too, and it felt like whenever there were some big plays that had to be made, the Lions were the ones swatting the ball down or intercepting it.
Oh yeah, 100%. And then once again, Dylan, like you said, the Eagles, 2 Mondays ago, they couldn't get anything going on the ground game. Well, Detroit, they were able to get something going, and they were able to, keep that passing game going, like you said, get Gibbs going. Montgomery had an okay game, but yeah, anytime this Lions offense is going forward the way that they are, and they're able to run the ball and get that play action game going, it's gonna be hard pressed for any of these teams left in this year for them to beat them. And another thing is just how Dan Campbell has built this locker room and how much they trust him and how much they love the players around him. Even when these guys are hurt, Frank Ragnow out there being a warrior, probably having a high ankle sprain and a sprained MCL, you're not going to take him off this field. They're truly playing for each other. They're rallying for each other, and there's something special going in Detroit right now. And we'll see how it goes. We'll see how it goes on Sunday here, but it could be. All I'm going to say this is it could be something special because they truly do love each other and they're playing for something way bigger than us, and it's a treat to see.
Yeah, and it doesn't feel like it's a flash in the pan in Detroit either. Which what we've seen for so many years, which basically our entire lives dating back to 1995, or 94 in your case, where it was like, well, we didn't see him make the playoffs until I was a junior in high school. You were a senior in high school. So 17, 18 years of our lives, and they had a couple of spans of where they'd make the playoffs and then they'd go 3-13 the next year. So this seems something different. There seems something different about what's going on in Detroit, that this isn't a flash in the pan, and who knows? We might be having Jordan Love and
Jared Goff
battles for the NFC North for years to come.
Yeah, and it all goes back to last year when they ended the season on that stretch to get to 9-8. And I think when they defeated Green Bay and they eliminated them from the playoffs, that's when Detroit was like, okay, we're bought in. We can do this. And now as we go into free agency this offseason, who wouldn't want to go sign up and play for this team and that coaching staff?
Yeah, but we're still in this season, so I think they're not gonna be worrying about that right now. But Grant, I don't know if I should do this, but I'm gonna give you your time to gloat about your Kansas City Chiefs beating the Buffalo Bills here in the game to put a bow on the divisional round weekend.
Well, first off, what a game! I mean, when these two teams
wait, should we take our shirts off for this one?
We're not as cool as Jason Kelce.
All right, I just had to throw it out there.
Oh no, that's a good one. But we're not wearing Timberlands, and we're not about 15 beers deep, so it wouldn't be as special.
Well, I might have been at that point.
That is true. But at this current time, I don't think we're 15 beers deep.
No, I am not.
But, first off, man, I think you just got to talk about how special the games are when these two teams play. Like, it's getting close to, like, the intensity that rivals Carolina Duke in basketball. Like, in the second half, at halftime, when they said in these last 6 quarters, it's 171 to 171, like, points scored against each other for these last 6.5 games. At the start of the fourth quarter, both teams had 353 yards of total offense, or 351. I mean, you just know it's going to be a 3-point game, and these teams are going to give it everything they have because they know everything about each other, and it's who's going to go out there and who's going to make a play. So, just as football fans, we should appreciate these two teams when they play because it's always going to be a treat. And they're going to be leaving us with plenty of stuff to talk about. But as the game got started, I knew Buffalo was going to come out and they were going to give the Chiefs everything they had. But the first drive of the game when Buffalo had it, at 3rd and 17, I'm thinking, hey, this is going to be good. All right, yeah, the Chiefs, they got them right where they want. They're going to get a 3 and out, and then Josh Allen, he's going to scramble, and he throws a lateral right away, and I'm watching it live. I'm like, oh, well, that's Josh Allen making a play. What can I say? And then you look at it, and technically, sure, the Chiefs should have thrown the challenge flag, blah blah blah, whatever. But they go down and they kick a field goal, and I'm like, all right, hey, field goals are going to win you games. Holding the Buffalo to field goals, that's going to help you win games. And the Chiefs, confident they have a good drive, then they kick another field goal. It's like, all right, whatever. Buffalo, they go down. They're a championship team. They have a drive. They score a touchdown. But then, the Chiefs, then they come back afterwards and they kick another field goal. And Dylan, at this point, I'm not going to lie, I'm sitting back and I'm like, I wonder if it's just this whole field goal game that I talked about last week. It's going to come back and bite them in the ass. It's not going to do it. But then they're able to get a stop, and then Kelce scores a touchdown, and then the pandemonium starts, from that suite with Jason and his shirt off, which was just great to see. But then Buffalo, they go down, they get a touchdown, they go into halftime. But kind of coming to this game, Dylan, I almost now feel like how Patriots fans felt for that 24-year run. Why be nervous? Why? There's no point in being nervous anymore. You know why? Because this team, they've been there, they've done that. We saw it in last year's Super Bowl. Spags is going to make adjustments. Andy's going to go out, and he really didn't have to make adjustments because he had this Buffalo team reeling. He knew what they were doing all game. I think the Chiefs only had 5 third downs this whole game because they averaged 9 point some yards a play. Just like, be calm, be cool, be collected. They're going to go out, they're going to make their plays when they need to. And they did. After that first drive in the second half, the Chiefs defense changed the front up and they didn't let Buffalo run down their throat all the time. The Chiefs started scoring touchdowns, and it was just this classic game where you're like, hey, you know what? They're gonna stop. They're gonna make a stop. And they're gonna make the plays they need to, and they're gonna come out with a victory. And they did, and it was great to see. And now we're on to Baltimore.
Well, now you're sounding like the Patriots here, and we're on to Baltimore.
Yeah.
It was. Question I have is do the Bills need to go a different direction from Sean McDermott? It feels like this team has plateaued, kind of almost similar to what the 2003 Bucks were in with Tony Dungy, where they fired him and they brought in John Gruden, where they just need that different voice. That's someone that Tony Dungy, I mean, he's a Super Bowl winning coach, but needed somebody like a Gruden to kind of light a fire under their ass and get them to get. Maybe that's what gets them over the hump. But you look at some of the coaching decisions, the fake punt, which you can debate whether if there were 10 men, but great play by the Chiefs defense to sniff it out and make a play, and then it could have been backbreaking I don't even know if you really can blame anybody. I think the Bills defensive back just made a heck of a play.
On that fumble.
And the other part about it too is that Bills defense was banged up, and it's been a common theme. And you look at the difference from a few years ago when both these teams met in the AFC Championship game, where the Chiefs, took a couple of steps back. Though leading into this year, where they got rid of some of the older guys on the team and got younger, where the Bills at the same time decided to get rid of some of the younger guys and get older, and they're not there to play. So, this is something that Buffalo, I think, is going to have to look at, is trying to get younger on the defensive side of the ball and trust your player development program to get them to where they can be a Super Bowl winning defense. But even though the Bills controlled the ball for 37 and a half minutes or whatever it was, it never felt like Buffalo was in control of the game at all. I always felt like the Chiefs always had the upper hand. And this is just the Chiefs are the Bills' dad. Our socials tweeted out posted after the game is Pat Mahomes on Josh Allen on Pat Mahomes' shoulders. And yes, the Bills 2 straight games they haven't turned the ball over, but this game was also the best the Chiefs offense has looked since probably since Taylor Swift made her debut.
Yeah.
And we'll get to see Taylor Swift's box again probably this week. And Grant, you talked about it earlier, was the two long drives Buffalo had. They got 3 points out of them. One was a 16-play drive, the other was a 14-play drive, where the first one was the first drive of the game where they ended up getting 3 points. And when you're driving the ball for that long, you have to find a way, especially against a team like Kansas City. A guy like Pat Mahomes is, when it's all said and done, is probably going to go down as at least a top 5 quarterback of all time. And then in the last drive, it felt like once Buffalo got into field goal range, they almost just played for overtime and played not to lose. So, and Josh Allen missed. Stephon Diggs had a drop. Josh Allen missed a receiver on that drive too. So it's still just a hurdle that Buffalo cannot seem to get over. But anybody that was doubting the Chiefs, and since I am the resident Chiefs hater, yet I've picked them to win the division, picked them to go to the Super Bowl at the start of the year here. How am I the one standing here saying I'm right but all I do is I'm a Chiefs hater?
That's the power of the internet for you. There's a bunch of clowns out there who truly, don't know what the hell they're talking about. But, Dylan, I think the one thing that you brought up, this is the best offensive game the Chiefs have played pretty much since that Bears game. Romo said it in the broadcast. Andy almost found something having his receivers closer to the line of scrimmage and a lot of bunch sets, because then it opens up so much more of the field, so much more of the sideline. Where earlier in the year, when they had your classic formations, when you'd have receivers close to the sideline, and when you're on the left hash, you have trips to the right, there was so much less space to maneuver. When receivers can't get open, you just got to bunch people up and scheme people open. And Andy, he did a great job of that this last week. And then also just continuing the downhill running game with Isaiah Pacheco. Trust in your offensive line, like I've been trying to get this team to do this whole year. Run forward with your the guard and center combination they have. Move the line of scrimmage, pull some guards, just be a physical downhill running team, because it is January. It is playoff time. More than likely, the team with the most rushing yards in the game is going to win that game. So be physical. Just get back to old school football, and give yourself a chance late to make a play on defense, or have Buffalo not make a play.
Yeah, and that speaks to the experience the Chiefs have. They've been in those spots. It's almost like they're comfortable. They like being in that role, and Buffalo was favored. Chiefs basically, there's nothing more dangerous in sports than a dynasty or a power. I'm not ready to call the Chiefs a dynasty yet.
Got to be 3. Got to win 3.
Yeah. Well, about 3 weeks away from potentially that happening. A powerhouse, thinking they're the underdogs and embracing and relishing in that role, which the Chiefs have seemed to do in these last this last month of the season.
Just like the Patriots going into that AFC title game in the 2018 regular season. Edelman to Brady the whole game. You're too old. You can't play. You're too old. And they were not too old, and the Patriots, they went out and they won that game.
Yep. And sorry to bring out some tough memories for you here, but you brought it upon yourself. So I'm not going to be too sad about that. And Grant, I have some news for you here. we have some a pitch from a listener here about potentially becoming a fan of this team. So,
we do now.
So Grant, yes, and after that we will we'll talk and see where you're at. If you've heard from some other people, I saw that there were some people that are at some Iowa fans that are asking you to take your name out of the fan transfer portal. So, Iowa still is on the table, but Grant, this one is coming in from a listener. He is a Texas A&M fan, and I know you've taken some jabs at A&M over the year, but I think that was more of a Jimbo Fisher thing. But we're past the Jimbo Fisher era, and we're into the Mike Elko era. But he gave me a list of some things for you to consider.
Okay.
Texas A&M, they are the true 12th man. The Rainy City bitch pigeons can suck it.
I like that because I don't like Seattle.
Yep. Correct. And you like Texas.
And I do love me some Texas.
So that's you're already 2 points for Texas, or for the Aggies. They dominate equestrian and meat judging. They are the 2022 national champions in that. The wins on 24/7. They win on 24/7 Sports, but they suck when it matters. Guaranteed overhyped preseason to end up 7-5. They have male cheerleaders who like to make controversial comments on a weekly basis.
Oh,
you get to be part. Yeah, you get to be part of a cult. Which if there's anybody on a podcast, you definitely seem, Florida man.
Yeah.
You definitely seem like you could be a cult guy.
Okay.
And Johnny Manziel was one of the baddest motherfuckers to ever play college football.
That he was.
So, Grant, where now is Texas A&M on the list?
Just out of respect to our listeners.
Meat judging, you would fit in well.
I would fit in well with that.
You have some familiar with handling meat and judging and looking at meat. So
I will say this, just based off that, the fact that they are in Texas, that is some points there. And Mike Elko seems like my kind of guy. Defensive coach, he's going to build this thing from the inside out and the ground up. He's a football guy. He hired Colin Klein as his offensive coordinator. I think that's a great hire. A&M, I will now, out of respect, put them on the list.
Okay. So what are we up to right now? We're on to A&M,
Oklahoma, Texas, and Oregon. And
Oregon, okay.
And the Nebraska user on TikTok, but let's be honest, Nebraska's not going to happen.
Okay. All right. Well, so
yes.
Texas A&M is in to the top 5. That is some breaking news here.
It's into the top 5.
And Grant will be updating us next week on where he stands. So then let's kick it back over to you, Grant, and let's preview some conference championships. Let's get us started with your Kansas City Chiefs with matching up against the Ravens.
This game, the biggest thing for me is, last year in the Super Bowl, the Chiefs offensive line had their game of the year and the game of their lives. Well, they're going to need it again this year in this AFC Championship game, because you're going into Baltimore, you're playing that defense, and the defense who led the league in sacks this year, and I think was top 3 in terms of rushing yards per game allowed. Well, if the Chiefs can't get Pacheco going and the Ravens are able to rush with discipline and get to Pat Mahomes, it could be a long day. And then another thing to look out for is, Joe Thuney left that game on Sunday with a strained pectoral muscle. I don't know if he's going to be able to go on Sunday. One report says he's doubtful. One report says he's going to do everything in his power he can to play. Potentially not having Joe in this game is huge. Like I said, because with him, Creed Humphrey, and Trey Smith, that's a center 2-guard combination that I'll take over anybody in the NFL. And if you need him if you want to win this game, because I truly believe the Chiefs are going to have to continue to run the ball and play offense the way they have these last couple really ever since that Cincinnati game, so these last couple weeks. And then also just last week with the confidence of getting MVS a couple deep shots, having him take over the middle of the field and work in that corner, that's going to be big. And then continuing to have this passing game run through Travis Kelce. Last week the 2 touchdowns, a couple other big catches. If you can get him and Mahomes going, that's huge. But I think most importantly, I think for this Chiefs defense is they have to rush. They have to rush with integrity this week. Last week there was multiple times where they were running 5 yards past Josh Allen, and he's taking his legs and he's going to scramble and he's going to make you pay for that. Well, this week's a whole different animal with Lamar Jackson. If you can't keep him in the well and keep him in front of you, he's gonna tear you apart because his legs are just a weapon that we haven't seen in this league since Michael Vick. One of those when you're rushing the quarterback, once you get to the quarterback level, you need to peel back inside, and you need to keep him in. And then also I think what Spags did last year in the second half of that Super Bowl, they need to bring pressure from anywhere and everywhere in that game. Make Lamar uncomfortable. Is he coming from my left? Is he coming from my right? Because anytime you can get him to slow down for maybe a half a second, that's an advantage for you. Because I do think the Chiefs have the advantage in the secondary against the Ravens wide receivers. I think they can play sticky coverage on them and have Lamar make some tight throws. But with that being said, if they need to get pressure on Lamar so he maybe makes a mistake or two, that maybe the Chiefs can lead to a pick six or just an extra possession for their offense coming into this tight game on Sunday. I expect it to be a 3-point game, kind of like when they played their first game in 2018 and then also their last game in 2021 on Sunday night when the Ravens won by a point. So they have to rush with integrity, and I think Spags has to bring pressure from anywhere and everywhere to really try to confuse Lamar and just slow him down for half a second to get to him.
Yeah, I think a big X factor in this game, and he's a question mark, is Willie Gay, because he is the one linebacker that they're going to be having probably spy Lamar, and if he can't go, I don't think there's a linebacker on the roster that's going to be able to spy on him. Which also which makes their rushing with integrity all the more important. And I had this down too. Is I think the team with the most rushing yards is going to win the game. Right now, the Ravens are 3.5-point favorites. The total in this game is 44.5. Another, with Pacheco's status, Thuney's status, I think another thing to keep an eye on is which team is going to be able to create more explosive plays where they're going to be able to create plays of 40 plus yards. Because I think this game to me feels like it's going to be very much a field goal game. I think you're going to see both these teams move the ball 20-20 and then toughen up in the red zone. It's going to come down to, who's going to be able to, is it a trick play? Is it a field position flip where, a team gets a short field? Who's going to be able to where they can get a big chunk play where they just got to get, where they're able to get into the red zone and make something happen where they get that momentum. I wouldn't be shocked too. Both of these teams, to once they hit that big play, is go tempo. Get the defense on their heels and try to put the pressure on the defense when they're tired, where they have to rush to get up to the line, and once they get across or not even where they can snap the ball and almost steal a touchdown, if you will.
I agree. And Dylan, one thing also you mentioned, I wonder, are these coaches going to be aggressive and go for it on fourth down? Like if it's a 4th and 2 from the Baltimore 34 or the Baltimore 30, is Andy just going to sit back and say, hey, we need touchdowns to extend this drive? And why I think this is going to be interesting in this game, you have 2 great kickers with Harrison Butker and Justin Tucker. Are these coaches going to be aggressive and say, hey, we need touchdowns? Or are they going to sit back and say, I trust my field goal kicker to get us points, in this game, and I trust our defense to get a stop? It's going to be one of those, game within the game where I'm just looking to maybe see who decides to say, hey, I trust my field goal kicker, or you know what? It's the AFC Championship game. It's do or die. Let's try to get a first down and get a touchdown in this drive here.
Yeah, I think a lot of it is going to be, and that's, I think, the part that drives me nuts about the analytics like hardos, where, if it's 4th and 1, you have to go. I think it's going to be very much determined on the flow of the game. If yards are tough to come by and it's 4th and 1, 4th and inches, and if you're running the ball well, I think you're going to see the coaches go for it. But I think if yards are tough to come by, where teams, it's going to be tough to get those yards early on, I think you have to take the points and kick the game, because, like you said, Grant, I think points are going to be at a premium in this game. I think so. Let's go to predictions here.
One thing real quick. I also think for the Chiefs, if they want to win this game, with how fast and how aggressive these Baltimore linebackers are, there has to be a lot of misdirection and window dressing. Because if you just try to run straight up at Patrick Queen and Roquan Smith, they're going to take your lunch money and eat you alive. You got to get them going one way and then back the other, where maybe they're out of position and you can get, a 15 to a 25-yard run off that, because they're flowing one way and it goes the opposite of them.
Yeah, and let's get to predictions here. I'll go first, Grant, since it's your team. I'll let you cap her off here. But for me, I think this game's gonna promise to be an incredible game. It's gonna be a back and forth. It's gonna be if you want to see hard hits, this is the game to watch. I think, well, actually, both these games are Sunday are gonna be hard hitting affairs. It's gonna be fun. It's gonna be the way football should be meant to play. And for me, I think evenly matched teams, and right now we don't know the status of Pacheco, Thuney, and Willie Gay. My hunch is that I think all three are going to at least try to give it a go. And in these evenly matched games here, I think you go with who the better quarterback is, and Lamar might be the MVP. But we haven't seen him play in a game with these type of stakes on the line. How is he going to handle when the pressure is on him? We've seen him in the past in playoff games where he has not performed his best. You go back to the 2019 season against Tennessee where he didn't play a great game. You go back to when they went to Buffalo and they were only able to put up 3 points in the COVID year. How are we going to see MVP Lamar, or are we going to see him resort back to it? Until I see it, until I see somebody take the crown from him, I'm not betting against Pat Mahomes. I'm going Chiefs win 30-27.
Oh, boy, man, if that's the case, we have set ourselves up for a great Sunday, because the second.
Do you have your heart pills ready?
I do have the aspirin ready for me, in case my chest gets a little tight and I need to kind of have my blood thinned out. The aspirin is ready. We're ready. The aspirin is ready. The heart pills are good to go. Probably going to watch that game on an empty stomach. And you know what? Not have anything to drink before, because I can't risk going to the bathroom and missing anything with that. But Dylan, I'm with you. I like the Chiefs in this game, and just because I think they have their confidence going, and the Sunday was their best offensive game they've played all year. They know what they're doing well, and they know what they need to do to move the ball on this Ravens defense. I think Andy's going to have his quick game is going to be on fire. I think we're going to see a lot of screen passes. I think he's going to challenge his offensive line. They're going to come out and they're going to play. And it's one of those where, hey, they've been there and they've done that. They went on the road last week. They didn't get scared of playing in Buffalo. They're going to be able to go to Baltimore and deal with that crowd noise. I think Pat's going to have a great game. And I really do think this Chiefs defense is going to answer. After the first half and the first drive Buffalo had last week, they really bowed up. They made a play. I think Spags and this defense is going to make a statement and say, hey, we were third in the league in scoring this year. We're going to shut the MVP down. And you're right. I think all three of those guys are going to give it a go. And I think the Chiefs are going to win a hard-fought game 24-20 on Sunday.
Okay. All right. So, that is 24-20. That is a score that is very important to some people. The total for the game is 44.5. So
Yep.
Grant likes the under. I like the over.
Yep.
I think I'm going with the over because I do think that there's going to be a explosive play. We might see a big play touchdown that can mess with it where that's going to be the difference. But let's go to the NFC Championship game. We got 49ers versus the Lions. This is the 49ers. What is it? Their
third straight
fifth,
4 and 5 years.
They're fourth in 5 years here. Looking to go back, looking to get over the hump after losing the last two, yeah.
Last two, yep.
And yeah, 4:30 p.m. Mountain Time on Fox. The total for the game is 50.5. And this game is going to be, I think, the Lions need to do what the Packers didn't do. They need to get behind that O-line and run the ball. For a number of reasons, frankly, because for one, that's what got them there. They are they have arguably one of the best offensive lines, if not the best offensive line in the NFL.
I think it's the best right now.
San Francisco has struggled stopping the run here, and that it also keeps Jared Goff at his best, where when he's able to go play action and it's not forced to become a drop-back pass game. The other thing that I think the 49ers or the Lions are going to have to do is make sure they are not letting that 49ers pass rush tee off. I think, and then on the flip side of that is 49ers have to find a way to get pressure with 4 because the Lions have good enough receivers that if Jared Goff has time, he has proven time and time again that he will pick you apart. And his confidence is all the way up, all the way through the roof. He is making throws that you saw when he was playing at his best in the 2018 and 2019, when they made it to the Rams made it to the Super Bowl in 2018. He has played on the road in a conference championship game, and he's 1-0. And this game, and winning in the Superdome, I think, is a lot tougher than playing. Is a much better, tougher atmosphere than playing at Levi's Stadium. But on the flip side too, here the Niners, I think not playing for 3 weeks definitely affected them, especially when they played the Rams, because I think they thought that they were going to be playing the Rams potentially again. So I think they had a very simple, very vanilla game plan, and they didn't give away a whole lot. And it took the Niners, a little bit to kind of wake up. I think the Lions, they're going to have to get through that script of Kyle Shanahan, try to limit them to 3. But this is going to be another slobber knocker of a game. We're going to see two teams that are going to want to run the ball to set up the pass, and whoever's able to stop the run, whoever, similar to the AFC Championship game, the team that rushes for the most yards is going to win this game.
Oh, 100%, dude. And I think one thing here for the Niners, if they want to succeed in this game, they have to take a page out of the Bill Belichick playbook and go back to that 2019, the February of 2019 Super Bowl in Atlanta that Jared Goff played in with the Rams. And they need to play a 5-man front. One defensive lineman on each offensive lineman. Don't let the Lions set up that double team. In return, don't let them get that running game going. Because then once they get that running game going and Jared Goff's able to do his thing in the play action game, I don't know if anyone in this league is able to stop the Lions right now at this moment. And make sure that it becomes a drop back pass game. And when it becomes a drop back pass game, then you can maybe play some games up front to get after Goff and harass him. But if you let the Lions get comfortable with it, they're able to run the ball and really wear down this pass rush. There is a weakness in that San Francisco secondary. And like you said, the Lions have good enough players where they'll be able to get open and get big plays down the field. And, that's their best shot at winning this game. And then, in return, if I'm the Niners, I'm almost coming out early and I'm passing to set up the run because the Lions this year, they've gone all in on stopping the run because they want to take something away. Well, if I'm Shanahan, I'm thinking Aaron Glenn's going to do that. He's going to do a lot of exotic, crazy things. Maybe take a game plan like to head out of Baltimore this year. Pass to set up the run. So then Detroit has to change their game plan up a little bit. And then you're able to get Christian going. You're able to lean on them here going forward. And, Dylan, I know you didn't have a prediction, but I'm going to go ahead and get the starter right here. I said to start the year, Chiefs 49ers. We have this opportunity for that to happen. But also this year, the first game of the NFL season was Detroit at Kansas City. I truly believe with the mojo those two teams have going, that the NFL season is going to end with Detroit against Kansas City. So yes, I'm all in on the MCDC train. I've been on this Lions O-line all year. I think they're going to wear out the 49ers in this running game. They're going to get the play-action game going. Jared Goff is going to be the better quarterback on Sunday. The Lions, yes, the Lions get to the Super Bowl with a 27-23 victory on Sunday.
Okay. All right. Well, Grant. So for me here, this game feels like a game with the Niners where they got caught looking ahead against the Packers. They came out a little bit sluggish.
They're playing with their food.
Just escaped. Yeah, played with their food. Great. That's a great way of saying it. And the other thing we didn't talk about is Debo going to be playing.
Yeah.
His status, because that changes. But I think too that if they know early on that he's probably not going to be playing, I think that benefits them more. Where if they don't have to worry about putting him into the game plan and trying to get him to, and where you're scheming up plays to get him the ball, where you got what you got, and if it does so happen that he is able to play, you kind of have those in your back pocket. But I digress. We've seen this before where a team that's playing hot, they're coming in and they've got all the momentum, and the other team on the other side, they limped a little bit to get to this game. They've been really good all year, but they played with their food at times. We're talking about how they aren't playing the best. The team they're playing is playing at an all-time level. And we see a team just come in and beat the doors off said team. I look back to the, for example, a good one would have been like the Vikings Eagles NFC Championship game, or Michigan versus no, not Michigan. Michigan versus Washington this year, or Georgia versus TCU the previous year in the national title game.
Yeah.
Type of thing. Or you could go to the 2022 or 21 SEC championship where Alabama needed a big play against Auburn, and Georgia was the hot team, and Alabama went and blew the doors off them in the SEC championship game. This kind of gives me those type of vibes. I don't think that's what's going to happen, though. I also think the Lions are going to score 27 points, but I think the 49ers are going to score 28. I think the Lions get a score late and they go for 2 for the win, and the Niners defense holds, because that's just kind of what I'm thinking. So I like the 49ers to win 28-27.
Oh my God! If they go for oh my God! Could you imagine? They're going to go for 2, 100%. You're spot on.
Oh yes.
If they're in that situation, oh man, I can't wait for Sunday. I think these are going to be 2 great games.
It is. They're going to be the way football should be played.
Correct.
It's going to be fun. Can't wait. And let's put a bow on this show here with Curveball of the Week. And I I have it this week. So, Grant,
Mm-hmm.
what is a conspiracy theory that piques your interest?
Ooh. God, that's a good one. I'm not much into conspiracy theorists as most folks are. Like some people. God, I had one tell me a couple of years ago, comparing Saban to Belichick, and when they're Super Bowl or the national title games in Atlanta, they do this and they do that, and I'm just kind of like, what the heck is going on here?
Or like the Super Bowl colors they have picked out for the
Super Bowl
teams.
colors one, just anything about Area 51 in general is always fascinating. One that always I find intriguing is people, they think birds are fake, like birds aren't real creatures. Just like, okay, you people are weird here. I don't
and
know.
most of them are hunters who have shot birds.
Correct. Correct. But I don't want to say the conspiracy, but just the one I want to know, because we have an answer to it, but for some reason our federal government is not telling us that they know the answer to this. It's the JFK debacle in Dallas. Who truly
Yes,
killed?
that's mine too.
Who truly killed JFK? Was it the CIA? And why did the CIA do this to cover this up? There's just so many questions that need to be answered. I want to get to the bottom of this someday.
There's rumors that the mafia had took him out. There's talks that according to our federal government, that Lee Harvey Oswald was the lone gunman, according to the Warren Commission, which is 1,000% cannot buy. There's talk that it was the CIA.
Mm-hmm.
It was Lynn is vice president, LBJ.
He took him out in his home state because they didn't get along.
There's so many questions that we have not gotten answers to, and we want to know because, and the other part is too is nobody knows where JFK's brain is. Like his brain's like out there somewhere. We don't know where it is. Like this is the president. This isn't just minor years. Well, I mean, when they open our heads up, they're going to see that they're going to be more shocked that there's actually a brain in there.
Yeah.
But. Like, how do we not know where the president's brain is, or why was there never an autopsy found or performed on his body? So, yeah, I'm 1,000% that like I want to get to the bottom of what happened.
Mm-hmm.
What happened with JFK? Government, stop hiding your secrets. Let us know. So. But yeah, that one. I suppose since that had both of ours, I guess that wraps up the episode 114 is the official number of the Three Guys Talking Ball podcast. You can check us out on all of our socials. We'll have these segments of the show out on YouTube on Friday. So if you can't watch the whole video, we got everything cut up for you. So if you just want to watch a certain section, you can go watch that. Check us out on our socials. 3GTB podcast on X, Twitter, YouTube, or
TikTok.
Well, yeah, YouTube, you can search it, I believe, is that. TikTok, Instagram. Send us a message, send us a follow. Let us know where Grant should be become a new fan of, or if he should return to Iowa. I'm getting the gist that not many people are happy with your decision to leave the Iowa fandom here. So let us know anywhere on there. We'd love to hear from you guys. And with that, thank you again for listening, and we'll talk to you next week.